Welcome, 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 welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. Yay! welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My name is Wonu Alishe. Sometimes I do go by Amazing Soul. Welcome once again to the Mind Fuck Podcast. And FCK, by the way, stands for fun, compassion, and kindness. Now, before I get into the episode of today, I always like to start off with a list that I titled Reminders to Being Human. This list that I read every time on the show always serves as a beautiful reminder to me, and it's my intention and hope as you listen to these beautiful reminders, they serve as a beautiful reminder to you. All right, let's get into it. Reminders to being human. Have fun along the journey. Show yourself compassion. Be kind to others. Being complex and being simple can hold true in the same breath. Stay curious. Hold space for pauses. Hold space for not knowing. Never underestimate the power of silence. Nature has a lot of wisdom. Pay attention. There is power in we than I. If nothing else if nothing else makes sense, my friend, come back to love. Pain is our greatest teacher. And the very last one, never underestimate your ripple of existence. Welcome once again. Let's get into it. All right. I want to start with something that took me a very long time to see very clearly on my journey. You see, for years, I thought bias lived in the mind, in opinions and beliefs and assumptions, and the stories we tell ourselves about the world and about other people. That's what I thought for a long time. I also thought bias was something you thought, right? Something you could correct with awareness. I mean, with education, with better language, with also knowing better. But over the years, what I slowly began to realize is this: bias doesn't just live in the mind, it also lives in the body. And long before I could name it, long before I could explain it, my nervous system had already learned what bias was, right? You see, I didn't grow up thinking I am biased or the world is biased. No, what I grew up was with something subtler, like a tightening, a bracing, constant scanning. I mean, a quiet, ever present sense of needing to adjust myself depending on where I was and also who I was with. And at that time in my life, I didn't interpret that as bias. No, I actually interpreted that as being responsible, being careful, being the mature one, and also being adaptable. But what my body was actually doing for so many decades was staying on guard. Here's what unconscious bias looked like in my nervous system. You see, it looked like entering a room and immediately reading the air in the room. Not because I was curious, but because my body needed to know. My body needed to know things like, am I safe here? Do I really belong here? How should I show up so I don't stand out too much or disappear entirely? You see, and I wasn't consciously asking those questions. No, my body already knew ahead of time to ask them. That's how bias works at the nervous system level, my friend. It's not a belief you debate, it's a pattern you live inside of. That is bias. You see, my friend, for a long time, I thought I was highly perceptive. I thought I could feel shift in energy. I thought I could sense moods. I thought I could anticipate reactions before they happened, right? People even praise me over the years for this quote unquote behavior. Things like, oh, Wanu, you're so aware. Oh, Wanu, you read people so well. But you see, what no one told me was that this kind of awareness often develops not from safety, no, but from necessity. When our environment teaches you subtly, repeatedly, that misreading a situation could cost you comfort, belonging, or even your identity. Your nervous system learns to overread everything. And that's what I did for decades. You see, my friend, that's not intuition. That is adaptation. And here's where unconscious bias enters the picture, right? Bias isn't always someone else overt judgment of you. No. Sometimes it's the anticipation of being judged. That's bias sometimes. Sometimes it's also your body learning through repetition. Things like in certain spaces, you tell yourself, I need to work harder. In certain spaces, you tell yourself, I need to shrink. In certain spaces, you tell yourself, I need to perform competence before I'm allowed to relax. That is unconscious bias. No one had to say it out loud. For me, over the years, my body learned it anyway. I also noticed this most clearly for me in professional settings. Like, I would prepare excessively. I would over explain myself. I would pose to over deliver. And not because I actually doubted my capability, no, but because my nervous system had learned that being misunderstood was risky. So that being perceived incorrectly could actually have real life consequences. So my body for decades stayed alert, even when nothing bad in quote was happening to me. So this is the part that I feel like most of us miss. Bias doesn't only show up in moments of conflicts. No, it shows up in the baseline of our nervous system, in how relaxed or tense your body feels in neutral situation, in how quickly your shoulders drop or don't. That is unconscious bias. In whether silence feels peaceful to you or threatening. That is unconscious bias. For me on my journey, silence initially for so many years often felt unsafe because silence to me left space for projection. And my nervous system did not trust then how that space will be filled. So I filled it first. And I filled it with competence, with kindness, with humor, with being agreeable, with being easy to work with. I wasn't being fake. No, I was being regulated. And the only way my body knew how, and you see, my friend, this took me years to realize how exhausting this was. Not the effort itself, no, but the constant going of this repetitive behavior, never fully standing down, never fully resting, never fully letting go of the internal monitoring system. Oh my God, it was exhausted for so many years. And here's something I want to point out that is really very important. This is not about blame. This is not about blaming individuals. This is not even about blaming myself. This is not even about blaming systems in a simplistic way. No. This is about understanding impact. Because at that time, my nervous system didn't care about intent. No, it cared about patterns. That's it. What patterns are repeated over time? And over time and over the years, those patterns showed up physically. I mean, for me, through chronic tension, difficulty sleeping at night, a body that struggled to downshift. Even in safe environment, even around people who meant well. Even when I consciously knew I was okay. My body had not learned that yet. And you see, that's when for me, I started to understand something very crucial on this journey. You can dismantle bias intellectually and still carry it somatically, right? You can believe in equality and still live with a nervous system shaped by inequality, right? I mean, you can know you're safe and still feel braced. You see, for me, that realization changed how I approached healing. I mean, all the way, because I stopped trying to think my way out of it. And I started to listen to what my body had learned instead. You see, I began asking different questions, right? I stopped asking what's wrong with me. No. But instead, I started asking, what did my nervous system learn to survive? I stopped asking, why am I still tense? No. But instead, I started asking, what environment taught my body that tension was necessary? You see, my friend, when I asked those questions honestly, without judgment, the answers started to make sense in my mind. My nervous system wasn't broken. No, it was intelligently brilliant. It had adapted to repeated, subtle signals about who gets the benefit of doubt and who has to earn it, about who is allowed to be neutral and who has to be exceptional. I mean, about who can exist without explanation and who is expected to clarify, justify, or soften themselves. You see, once I saw that, something softened in me. And it wasn't overnight, it wasn't dramatically, but gradually. Baby steps, my friend. I stopped forcing myself to relax. No. Instead, I focused on creating conditions where my body could learn safety again. I mean, small moment, micro moment, letting silence exist without feeling it, not correcting every misinterpretation, not overperforming, competent, letting myself be ordinary. This was the biggest one. And noticing how uncomfortable that felt initially. Do you see? I mean, that discomfort is not failure. No, no, no. It was simply unfamiliarity. And my nervous system initially wasn't used to standing down, right? And over time, with repetition, something started to shift. Something started to soften. My body started to trust that every space, that is not every space that I entered that required armor. That not every interaction that I get into required vigilance. And that I didn't have to be on guard to be okay. And that takes time, my friend. This is why I wanted to talk about unconscious bias in this way. Because it's not just a social issue. No, it's not just a moral conversation. No, it's not just about awareness campaigns or better language. No, it is a nervous system story. That is unconscious bias. And until we include the body in this conversation, we will keep wondering why knowing better doesn't automatically make us feel better. So, my friend, if you've ever felt chronically tense in places where nothing obvious was wrong, I mean, if you've ever struggled to relax even when you're safe, and also if you've ever felt like you were always subtly adjusting yourself, you see, I want to remind you again, and I will always say this on this show, there is nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system learns something over time. That's all. And it can also learn something new. That's the beauty about nervous system regulation. And the way your nervous system does that is slowly, gently, and through lived experience. Not through force, not through shame, not self-correction, but safety. Right? That, my friend, is where real change happens. Not just in what we think, no, but in how our bodies finally learn that they don't have to stay on guard anymore. I want to thank you for taking time out to listen to me. I want to thank you for being here. And from my heart to yours, I am sending you so much love. Thank you.